slingshots in all these different remote locations, and your dog has to remember where they go.
Okay.
Well, one of them, none of the dogs were seeing it. So you're on imagine you're sitting next, right, about 15, 20 yards from the edge of the water.
Okay.
And there would be a thrower like on the far side of the barn.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And it was on the other side of the pond was a hill, and there were all these big deciduous trees back there. So it was in kind of a dark shadow, and the dogs just were not seeing it. So they saw the other two birds and did pretty good on those, but that one was like,
Hidden.
whoa, yeah. And even if they did see it, it was a really hard mark. They had to go swim across at an angle, get out, go all the way up the hill, over a giant log that they had just cut down, another 50, 60 yards and pick it up.
Jeez.
You know who did the best job on it? The youngest dog in my truck.
Really?
Yeah.
A golden retriever. Yeah, she just annihilated it. I was like, when I took her down there, I thought, okay, this is one of the hardest tests I've ever seen at a Grand. Now I have to run a 2.5-year-old baby on this test. And I was like, God, I don't even want to know what she's gonna do. And then she kills it. It was so ironic. Okay, so sit. Anytime we get the dog out of an ATV or vehicle of any sort, we start with sit. Okay, be quick. Now we just did all that obedience over there, so I'm going to give him a chance to pee if he needs to. Hurry up and be quick. This is where we stake the dogs out, typically, before we run them. So they would just snap into one of those stakes,
Okay.
and we would, they would watch several dogs run before they go.
Oh, there we go.
So they're used to kind of relieving themselves over there, so that's why I brought them. All right, so now we're going to work on force retrieve. Eddie, soldier. No, hey. Of course, I had to figure the first thing to do was go to water. Sit. I don't blame him, but we still have that damn blue green algae problem. Otherwise, I'd let him take a swim. He's quite a swimmer.
So he loves the water, huh?
Good.
Pretty good dog. So, every dog's got their strengths and weaknesses.
Yep.
So the weakness on this guy was really his independence on retrieving.
Okay.
Okay. Not so. So he loved to go out and pick it up, but as you know, he didn't love to bring it all the way back and sit down.
Right.
Yeah, that problem.
We know that.
Okay. So the force retrieve, starting with what I showed you up there, where the dog learns to hold an object with discipline, then transitions to a dog learning to pick up an object. Okay. So what we've got here. Do you remember how I had you take that little paint roller and get him to grab it and say
Yep.
the word FETCH?
Yep.
So it started with that, and then we would transition from that to pinching his ear a little harder, okay, and then still doing the same thing. When he would get the object in his mouth, we'd praise him.
Okay.
Okay, so it started with that, and then it transitioned to that, having him pick it up off the ground. Okay, understanding that he can avoid that pressure by picking it up. Then we transitioned it to his ear, to fetch, a bump on the collar. Fetch, fetch, heel, sit. So I said FETCH and gave him a bump. So right now, the purpose of this is literally just to teach him fetch, that he can avoid that pressure, heel, by picking the object up quickly and delivering it. Now you notice I'm using a non-retrieving object. I'm using PVC. The reason, again, a similar concept to having the dog on the table up there. If we have a battle, it's with something that we don't really retrieve. So you're not going to really take his style out with the objects that he loves to retrieve. However, we'll apply this concept to the retrieving if as needed.
Okay.
So if he drops a dummy when he's retrieving, I can say the F word.
Yeah.
I call it the bad F word because we only use it if he's made a mistake.
Okay.
Okay. Outside of where we're teaching it. We're teaching him to understand it here. Later, we'll use that concept like a tool. We keep the wrench in our back pocket. We don't necessarily start tightening or loosening the nuts unless we have to.
Right.
Right? So if he drops a retrieve, I can say the F word, bump. He goes, oh, I remember that. Boom, picks it up, and we move on.
Okay.
Okay, so it's just a tool to refine his natural retrieve. All right, so let's do the last one. Come on, buddy.
He only
Says the word if he doesn't. Like, he tells him to fetch.
Yeah,
As long as he gets
good
it,
ball.
brings it back. He gets
Okay,
his treat.
and what you'll see each time that we work him, sit. Every time we do it, fetch. Our session, you'll see this get expanded, bigger and bigger. So I'll sit, I'll ask him to go further and further, and eventually there'll be a pile of these at 50 yards.
Okay.
And that will become the basic fundamentals of him taking a line, which means going from our side in a direction, a predetermined direction, on a blind retrieve.
Okay.
That will basically be the exercise of the drill where we teach him how to do that. I hope some of this makes sense. I know it can be a little bit complex sometimes if you haven't seen it before. Good boy. You're gonna do it right. Heel. Okay, ready? Fetch. Okay, so F, bump. Right after it, I say the word, I hit the collar. Sit. All right, so typically when a dog's been here about a month, getting him to do what I just did is about as good as you're gonna get. All right, so again, practical application now. Right, so now at least he understands, okay, to a certain extent, something with my mouth, I have to hold it, I have to do obedience while holding it, and if I drop it and I get a correction, that means pick it back up. All right, we got the tools. You saw him do obedience. So on those obedience, I have the control of if he doesn't sit, I can go sit, eh. If he doesn't come to me, I can go H-E-E-L, eh. Right? Heel. If he doesn't stay next to my side when I'm walking him a heel, I can say heel, eh. Okay, the eh being the hit of the button, right? Sit. When we make a correction, we always do it again afterwards and get a success and get impossible, right? The train derails for a moment, we get it back on the rails, get a little success, we're right back cooking. That's how we do it. So you'll hear me say, repeat for a success. So if you're using this, you're going to repeat for a success every time. A lot of people try to use this as a garage door opener. This is just a roadblock, okay? It's the repetition and the success and the positive reinforcement that will carry the training.
Okay.
If you use this like a dictator, okay, and pretty soon, as you can imagine, the dog will shut you off. He doesn't want to work for you, right? Like the boss that's out there breathing down everybody's neck and, you know, not paying people enough. Eventually, they're going to quit. It's just, it's a phenomenon that happens with any animal or any person. All right, so we want them to be excited about this. We're going to use a concept called a fun retrieve. We release the dog first. There's no steadiness involved. He just goes. This is a momentum builder. Momentum refers to how excited and confident a dog is on retrieving. So if you hear us, that is a word you'll hear us say, constant. We need to analyze his momentum. Is his momentum high or low, right? We try to keep his momentum as high as we can, but we balance it with control. It's a continuous balance, momentum versus control. So this is a momentum builder. Finn. Hey, 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 hey. Okay, and then we balance it with the control of our obedience. Heel. On. Okay, so now we've been obviously practicing with obedience, etc. This is called bird and mouth. So I'm throwing the dummy, sit, as a reward for him delivering the first one.
Gotcha.
Okay, I'm lining him up wherever I want to line him up. Sit, and the next reward dummy comes in that direction, wherever I've lined him up. Sit. Bend. Make sense?
Yep.
So I've got a predetermined location or direction I'm going to throw it. I line him up, and again, I throw that dummy. Now, if he was to drop this one, I'd give a correction and make him pick it up. Fin. I never send the dog on a retrieve unless they're looking at the object and sitting quietly. I never send the dog on a retrieve unless they're sitting there and focused on the retrieve. Watch the dog when I take it. He's focused on the retrieve. Okay, if he looks away, I'll wait. Or I'll say, where's your mark? Okay, all of these are these little things I do are they're cues and protocols. Okay, so I'll give you an idea. A cue is some sort of phrase, audio, visual, that gives the dog an idea of an upcoming event. Okay, it's like you're sitting in the duck blind and said, "Here comes the birds." That's a cue, right? Something's going to happen. We're going to shoot the birds, right? So the cue for your dog to look out when the birds are coming in a duck blind or a waterfowl scenario is mark, sit, mark, fin. Does that make sense?
It does.
Woohoo! Good boy! Okay, so that's a cue, and another one later in his life will be dead bird, and then that one means okay, we're going to do a blind retrieve. You didn't see this one fall. You must point in the direction that we're having you point and go until we tell you to stop.
Okay.
Not that you need to remember that, but it's just another example of a cue. So we're also going to have his pass and do directional signals, right? So we're always working on those as well. Right. Sit down. Thank you. Alright, buddy. Heel. Good. Sit. As soon as that came out of his mouth, F bump.
Okay.
Sit. Sit. Heel. Sit. Sit. No. Sit. 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 Heel. Sit. Good boy. Heel. Sit. So now he's starting to learn to apply sit. The directional signals that he learned with the food bowls.
Okay.
And really he's tying all the concepts. So this drill, which eventually will become more and more complex, is the combination or culmination of all the obedience, the force fetch, the directional signals, right, and the fun of retrieving, all bundled together. And so I'm on my toes the most when I do this because it's a lot for the dog to digest. So I've got to keep him about 75% successful when I do it. So the complexity has to be such that he can do it. Sit. Back. Sit. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank.
All right. Heel. Good boy. Good. Sit. So, Finn. Finn. Throw it. Throw it. Finn, come on, you're released. Hey. All right, all right, all right, all right. Now, if you guys want to give him the old royal love routine, it would be probably about time to do that.
Come here, buddy boy. Oh, how are you? Come see
Look,
Mama.
Benny.
Put these away. So this first session,
Benny, come here, buddy.
You're so happy.
Come here, buddy.
mostly showing off, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Showing you what we've done.
Sit.
Oh, Benny.
The next step
Good
will
boy.
start
Good boy.
to
Come here,
involve you
Finn.
guys a little more on handling.
Okay.
This first one is really two purposes. The main one is to have him get used to the fact that he has to handle and do everything right in front of you while you're present. The secondly is to give you guys a view of what he's doing. And then from now until the last session, we're going to start infusing you in. So then it becomes he's got to learn to handle for you, and you need to learn to handle.
Okay.
And we do it as a rate, just like with the dog. We keep you 75% successful and the dog
Okay.
in your learning process. So initially it's going to be pretty simple, and then we work our way into more complex. But anyway, his weakness has really been his bird handling. He got He got really wild with his birds.
Okay.
And was mouthing and chewing, and we didn't have enough control built, so we had to just stop. Because the more bird exposure we give him, if he doesn't have the ability to control it, now he's picking up bad habits. So now we're just going back. So we did a bunch of precursor bird work. We put them on, pheasant flushes and things like that. And then we got to the point where we're like, you know what? If we keep doing this, we're going to do more damage than good until he's through force fetch. So now we're bringing birds back, which is what we're going to do next,
Okay.
in a more controlled manner. The last thing being, which he's not quite ready
Professional
yet, but last thing being shooting birds. And with him, it may be something that
Hey, no bite.
takes us 2 more weeks to get to being able to shoot birds. It might take us a month. I have a feeling knowing the dog it's going to be 2 weeks.
It's very smart.
Yeah, he's still, his really the thing that was limiting the most on the speed with which he'd learned and made progress in the program and the flow chart was just getting the force fetch this far.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's doing great with it.
He's amazing.
I love how he listens to you. He's sitting there, he's turning with you.
Oh yeah.
This is like Survivor when the family comes to visit you.
Yeah, you've basically been tortured for how many
Good
months?
job, my baby boy.
He's like, you came
Oh, my baby.
I haven't watched a lot of those shows, but I did watch one. It was so cool because you had all these really weird people, right? I had one guy, he was a high school teacher. And he's like, I hobby